People think betrayal hits like a clean cut. It doesn't. It hits like heat, slow at first, then suddenly everywhere, burning you before you even realize what's happening. I can still see the dust swirling around my shoes the moment I stepped out of the restroom at Red Mesa Fuel Depot, a half-forgotten station on the far edge of Nevada. The sun was so bright it made the metal pump handles glow. I squinted toward the spot where my daughter's silver SUV had been parked. It was gone. At first, I didn't panic. Lena was always moving the car to find shade. She'd probably pulled around back. But as I walked the length of the building, checking each parking bay, a strange stillness crept into my ribs. Not a sound, not an engine hum, not a bit of laughter from my grandkids, not the slam of the SUV's doors. Only the dry wind, brushing sand across concrete. Then I saw the note. A single sheet of paper pinned under a smooth river stone. My name wasn't on it, just a short sentence in my daughter's quick, sharp handwriting. "Dad, forgive us." My hands trembled as I unfolded it. "We can't keep supporting you. You'll find your own way. You always do. No explanation. No apology. No plan. Just a goodbye disguised as mercy." I read it again. Then again. The paper felt heavier each time, as if each word added weight I could no longer carry. They were gone. Not running late. Not circling the lot. Gone. A hot pressure built behind my eyes, but I didn't cry. Not yet. Shock keeps the tears away at first. It freezes them. I sat down on the bench in front of the convenience store, not remembering how my body got there. My knees felt loose, unreliable, like they belonged to someone else. Did they really leave me? The question sounded ridiculous the moment I thought it. Of course they did. They planned this. The week before the trip, Lena and my sons had paused their conversations whenever I walked into the room. Jonah, my youngest, avoided eye contact completely. Marcus kept checking his watch during our last dinner together. And that morning, on the drive, Lena was overly sweet. She handed me a neatly wrapped turkey sandwich, my favorite, no tomatoes, and said, "We'll take care of everything today, Dad. Just relax." It seems absurd, doesn't it? That kindness can camouflage cruelty so smoothly. She even insisted on holding my phone to manage the playlist and reservations. "Let me take your debit card too," she added, "in case we need to pay for gas or snacks quickly." I didn't think twice. They were my children. Why would I? After all I'd done for them, suspicion felt like an insult. Now I understood what that trust had cost me. I pulled out my wallet. $68 in cash. No debit card. No credit card. No phone. Just a lifetime of memories suddenly feeling like evidence of a mistake. Inside the station, cool air hit my face like a slap. A tall young clerk with a braided goatee glanced up from stocking bags of chips. "You doing all right, sir?" he asked. I hesitated. Pride wanted me to lie. Something older, something tired inside me, made me tell the truth. "My kids left me." He stopped moving entirely. "Left you?" He blinked. "Like, on purpose?" I nodded, and the words tasted like rust. "They drove off while I was in the restroom." "Jesus," he muttered under his breath. "That's brutal." Before he could say more, the manager appeared, a woman with square glasses and a frown carved into her face, as if she'd worn it for years. "What's going on, Drew?" she asked. The clerk, Drew, looked at me, then at her, then back at me. "His kids ditched him. He needs a place to sit for a bit." She softened, though only slightly. "He can rest outside under the awning. Health code won't let me keep non-customers inside too long." Not cruel, just firm. Overwhelmed. Underpaid. Exhausted. It wasn't personal. It was life. I nodded. "It's fine. I'll step outside." "Wait," Drew said. "Let me get you some water." He grabbed a cold bottle from the cooler and pressed it into my hand. "No charge." "Thank you," I whispered. Sometimes kindness comes from strangers, while cruelty comes from people you raised. When I stepped back outside, the heat hit like a physical force. Dry, heavy, pressing down on my shoulders. My skin prickled instantly, the way old skin does in desert weather, like it's about to crack. I sat beneath the awning, took a sip of water, and let my eyes unfocus on the shimmering road. Cars passed occasionally, families heading to vacations, truckers hauling cross-country, couples laughing through their windows. No one looked my way. I used to be visible. Used to matter. Back when I worked as a diesel mechanic at Ashford Rail Yards, 47 years of hauling tools, tightening bolts, crawling under engines bigger than my entire living room. I carried that job in my bones. The ache in my knuckles, the thin scars on my hands, the way my shoulders leaned forward from years of bending under train cars. And all that time, I told myself it would pay off. That giving my life to raising my 3 kids alone after Marla left meant something. Marla was the first person to walk away from me. She said she was tired of stretching pennies until they screamed. Tired of living in a rented house with a man who smelled of engine grease more nights than not. One morning, she packed a suitcase, kissed the kids on their foreheads, and told me she couldn't live small anymore. She left. They stayed. I thought that meant something. I raised those kids. I held Jonah's hand during his asthma attacks. I taught Marcus how to drive. I repaired Lena's first car for free, even though it needed nearly $1,000 in parts. I paid for all 3 weddings, even when it meant selling my fishing boat, the only luxury I ever owned. And the irony? None of them ever asked if I had money of my own left by the time I retired. They just assumed I'd figure it out. And so I did. I slept in a tiny 1-bedroom apartment, living off retirement checks that barely covered rent. When I finally admitted I needed help, I asked if I could stay with one of them for a little while. The responses were distant. Marcus said his house was already full. Lena said they were between renovations. Jonas said, "Dad, I'm stressed enough already." But all 3 agreed to take me on a little family getaway first, a trip to reset, reconnect, get everyone on the same page. That's what Lena called it, a reset. I should have heard the lie in her voice. The weight of the heat settled deeper into my chest. I pressed my palm to my sternum, feeling the thud of my heartbeat, slower than panic, heavier than fear. For the first time, I let the truth settle in. I wasn't just stranded. I wasn't just forgotten. I was unwanted. A breeze kicked up dust around my shoes. I watched the grain scatter and thought about how easily things blow away when they're light enough. Maybe that was all I was to them now, something light, something they could set down without effort. I closed my eyes, feeling the rough bench under me, the dryness of my lips, the ache in my lower back. Not pain, just age reminding me of its presence. When I opened my eyes, the road in front of me stretched long and empty. No one coming. No one looking for me. I wasn't dying. Not yet. But I realized something almost worse. No one was coming back. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not ever. And for the first time in my life, I understood what it meant to truly be alone. There are moments you can point to later and say, that's where it changed. Not because anything obvious happened then, but because everything that followed traces back to that one ordinary second. The morning the 3 of them picked me up, Marcus was the first absence I should have noticed. He had been the reliable one all his life. The lists, the reminders, the man who never forgot birthdays or oil changes. Marcus never missed family days. Not once. When Lena said he would catch us at the first stop, something inside me hummed like a wire about to snap. I shrugged it away. I wanted to believe. Lena's SUV pulled up late, as usual. She stepped out with a practiced smile that didn't reach her eyes. She hugged me, brief, mechanical. Jonas sat in the back, shoulders tight, fingering his phone like a nervous habit. "We'll handle everything today," Lena said, handing me a neatly wrapped turkey sandwich with the crusts cut off. "You just relax." It was such a small kindness that it hurt to distrust it. A father wants nothing more than to be trusted by his children. So when Lena reached for my jacket pocket and said, "Let me hold your phone so the hotel can text us the room number," I didn't object. Her explanation sounded plausible. "I'm not savvy with apps. She's got a better screen. And keep your card too, Dad," she added, "in case a place in the middle of nowhere won't take it." Those were the little things that made the later cruelty feel surgical. A sandwich, a bottle of water, a polite phrase, as if cruelty had learned the language of comfort. The drive started like every other family trip in my memory, a chorus of past jokes and small talk trying to stitch over distance. I tried to keep the mood light, telling an old story about Marcus and the time he locked himself in the shed with a raccoon. Jonah forced a laugh that landed flat. He kept tapping his knee beneath the seat, a restless metronome. He would, every now and then, make a joke that came out prickly and too quick. Once, he began, "Hey, remember when?" and then stopped. He chewed the inside of his cheek and glanced at Lena with a look that could almost be called pleading. I saw it, and I missed it. I was too eager to keep things normal. Looking back, there were a dozen tiny signals I should have noticed. They'd been whispering a lot lately, too quietly in corners when I walked in, closing tabs on their devices when I came nearby. Lena had started answering my questions with small, rehearsed phrases. We'll talk later. We'll make it work. It's complicated. I wanted to believe she meant love. Halfway down the highway, Lena's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and swallowed. Once. Twice. She put it face down, fingers drumming the steering wheel in a pattern so controlled it looked almost like prayer. Everything all right? I asked, meaning the roads, the weather, anything to steady the ride. Yeah, she said too quickly. Business. They're confirming something about the conference later. She didn't ask me a single question back. Her eyes were on the glass, not on me. Jonah's knee kept tapping, more insistent now. He gave a tiny, fake cough to cover it, then tried to make a joke about the radio. The joke died in his throat. Once, his voice rose as if he were about to confess something small and terrible. Dad? He started, then stopped. Nothing. Never mind. That moment lodged in my chest. It was the nearest thing to a confession he'd offer, the loose thread I never pulled on. I smiled and let it go because smiling is a language I learned early. It keeps the fragile things from falling apart. Lena's face betrayed a flicker of something human at the overlook. We stopped at Rockwell Ridge, that shallow bowl of wind and sagebrush we used to climb with the kids when they were small. The canyon smelled like old stones and sun-warmed resin. Jonah stayed in the car, staring at his hands. He used to race me to every rock. He used to beg to ride on my shoulders. That little boy felt very far away. Lena stepped out, and for an instant, a breath, maybe two, she looked like the woman who'd once tucked Band-Aids on skinned knees. Her jaw trembled, and she wiped the corner of her eye quickly with the back of her hand. She didn't know I'd seen it. If she had, the small softness on her face vanished like a coin into a pocket. That single hidden gesture does more for characterization than pages of blame could. It tells a reader that cruelty can be chosen even by someone who still remembers tenderness. She explained the phone thing as if she were reciting a recipe. The hotel has this new check-in system. They text a verification to both numbers. Sometimes the text goes to the wrong phone if I don't have both in sync. Let me just hold them so nothing goes awry. It sounded thin, but I'd never been one for technology, and I took her word. Maybe she'd practiced the line. Maybe she'd told herself the lie enough she could say it without flinching. Jonah's guilt wore small faces. A forced grin, too bright, a steady avoidance of eye contact. The way he kept glancing anxiously out the window, as if counting passing mile markers. He would tap the steering wheel with 2 fingers when Lena wasn't looking, a small, staccato Morse code of nerves. Once he hummed tunelessly, an attempt at distraction that trembled at the edges. It's one thing to betray someone while your hands are steady. It's another to betray with hands shaking. As the day wore on, the tension felt lodged between the seats like an unwelcome passenger. We drove for hours across that flat, sun-pressed landscape where the sky looks like it might fall and crush you. The car's AC hummed. The radio played soft rock that should have been comforting but felt like filler. At one point Jonah reached forward and said, "Dad," with that same tiny beginning. He stopped himself and forced a laugh. "Hey, remember when Marcus," he said, pivoting into an old story so quickly I almost missed the way he cut the other thing off. It was a near confession, a confession aborted at the last second. It stayed in my ribs like salt. When Lena finally pulled into the Red Mesa Fuel Depot lot, I felt an odd calm, like the kind you get before a storm, when the air holds its breath. She smiled at me in a way that said, "We're doing this, and everything's fine." Her hands were steady when she said, "Stretch your legs, Dad. Use the restroom. We'll fill up and meet you inside." It was the sort of gentle suggestion that masks an intention. There was nothing theatrical about it. No shout, no slam. The normalcy made the betrayal perfect. I took the sandwich, folded the napkin back carefully, and walked to the little building. I remember thinking how ordinary the moment was. The smell of coffee, the low radio inside the shop, the flicker of the gas station sign. It was all ordinary, the kind of ordinary I'd spent my life protecting them from. I should have clung to something then, my wallet, my voice, my suspicion. But I trusted them. I always had. I walked into that restroom and washed my face, the cold water a small relief. When I came out, the bench outside had a neat stone on it, and beneath the stone a folded sheet of paper lay waiting. I picked it up. My hands were steady until I read the first line. They had practiced kindness well. They'd disguised cruelty with turkey sandwiches and vitamin water, and they'd rehearsed their lies until their voices made their falsehoods sound like truth. And in the moment between the ordinary and the impossible, I realized I had missed the truth that had been wrapped in small mercies for months. If I'd only known how carefully they had planned the day, the dread would have arrived earlier, slower, and maybe I could have done something then. But that's hindsight. That's how it always is. The car doors clicked in the distance. The engines hummed away, and I sat on the bench with the note in my hand and the sun making patterns across my knees. That's when the world began to tilt. The quiet inside the Red Mesa restroom felt almost gentle. Cool tile. Faint bleach. A momentary break from the tension I couldn't name yet. I splashed water on my face, letting the cold run down my cheeks and drip onto my shirt. For a few seconds, I let myself believe the day was still normal. I pushed open the metal door and stepped outside into blinding heat. The sun hit like a hammer. The world felt harsh and overexposed. My eyes watered as I adjusted. Then I heard it, the soft grind of tires on gravel. Leaving, not arriving. My chest tightened. I turned toward the sound, hand still on the doorframe. Lena's silver SUV was rolling away from the pump, slowly at first, but steady, purposeful. Hey, my voice snapped out, louder than I expected. For a second, no one reacted. Then Jonah's face appeared in the rear window. His eyes widened when he saw me, real fear in them, not anger, not coldness. His hand lifted slightly, then froze midair like he didn't know whether to wave or reach. He mouthed something I couldn't hear. His lips trembled, and then he looked away. Hey, I shouted again, stepping off the curb too fast. My knee nearly buckled. I caught myself on the edge of the concrete. Lena didn't slow. Her shoulders were rigid, neck stiff, eyes locked on the long road ahead. I caught a glimpse of her profile. Her jaw was tight, and for an instant, I thought I saw her swallow hard, but her hands never left the wheel. The SUV picked up speed, dust trailing behind it in a pale brown plume. Lena, Jonah, I yelled, voice cracking. Stop. They didn't stop. They didn't pause. They didn't even look back. In less than 20 seconds, the vehicle was far enough that my voice died in the dry air long before it reached them. My breath caught in my throat. Sweat ran into my eyes, stinging. The road swallowed them whole. I stood there, swaying slightly, the heat shimmering over the asphalt like waves. For a moment, I genuinely believed the world had tilted. When I finally forced my legs to move, I saw it. The note pinned under a smooth stone on the bench. The same stone Jonah had picked up at Rockwell Ridge years ago when he was 8, showing it to me like a treasure. I still remembered him clinging to my pant leg that same day, begging me to carry him because the wind felt too big. That memory hit like a punch to the throat. My hand trembled as I lifted the stone and unfolded the paper. The sun was so bright it made the ink look faded. We can't keep supporting you. You'll find your own way. You always do. That line, you always do. As if survival were some kind of compliment. I felt something ugly twist inside my chest. Not just heartbreak, humiliation. A sharp, deep humiliation that made my stomach drop. I sank onto the bench, the wood scorching through my jeans. My pulse thudded unevenly. I stared at the empty road, half expecting the SUV to reappear, half terrified it actually would. A gust of hot wind blew dust around my feet. It tasted like grit and metal when it hit my tongue. That was when the real danger hit me. The heat wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. My mouth was already dry. My skin felt tight. The dizziness pulsed behind my temples. I was 72 years old, stranded in the sun with no phone, no card, no ride, and no shade. Panic prickled at the edge of my mind. And then a darker thought surfaced, uninvited, sharp. Maybe this is what they wanted. I shut my eyes, breathing hard. The thought scared me more than the heat. The gas station door creaked. Drew stepped outside carrying a small box of snacks. He froze when he saw my face. Sir, are you okay? I didn't trust my voice, so I just handed him the note. He read it once. His expression changed instantly, disbelief, then anger, then something like pity. They really just left? I nodded weakly. Jesus, he whispered. People don't even treat dogs like that. His voice wasn't dramatic. It was stunned. He glanced down the road as if expecting to see the SUV circling back. It didn't. He rubbed the back of his neck, hesitating. You want water? Shade. Anything. I can grab you something. I'll be okay. I lied. He didn't believe me. No one with functioning eyes would. But he nodded anyway, giving me space. Come inside if the heat gets bad, he said. Don't stay out too long. The moment he left, the silence grew heavier. The kind that makes your heartbeat seem too loud. A memory flashed unbidden. Marcus at 12, tugging at my sleeve the day his mother left us. Dad? He had whispered, voice shaking. You won't ever go away, right? He had cried into my shirt, small hands gripping me like I was the only safe thing in the world. I thought of that boy now, the boy who grew into the man who orchestrated this. How did we get from there to here? I shut my eyes tight, but the memory burned behind my eyelids. The heat intensified. The bench felt hotter. A headache crept across my forehead. I sipped water from the bottle Drew had given me earlier, but it barely helped. My heart pounded unevenly. Not fear, but something physical, something warning me. I wiped sweat from my neck and tried to breathe slowly. The road stretched ahead of me, shimmering like a mirage. A single vulture circled lazily overhead, cutting its dark shadow across the ground. The world felt empty in a way I'd never experienced. And for the first time, the thought settled in fully. I'm in danger. Not hypothetical. Not emotional. Actual danger. The desert wasn't a backdrop. It was a threat. The realization forced me upright. I had to move. Had to think. Had to do something before the heat did what my children clearly hoped it might. I folded the note carefully, not because I needed the words, but because I needed the proof, and slipped it into my pocket. Then I took a slow breath and whispered to myself, the way I used to whisper to the kids when storms scared them. You're still here. You're still standing. You are not done. My voice cracked, but it steadied me. The SUV was gone. My children were gone. But I wasn't. Not yet. The heat didn't fade gently. It clung to me long after the sun tilted west. I sat on the bench, breathing slow, waiting for the world to stop pulsing around the edges. My vision had a faint shimmer to it, like everything was vibrating in place. When I finally stood, a sharp pain shot across my right temple. It wasn't just dehydration. It felt like someone had struck a tuning fork inside my skull. I held onto the bench until the dizziness passed. Inside the store, the air conditioning felt cooler than it had earlier, like stepping into a different climate. The manager glanced up from the lottery stand. She didn't look surprised to see me. She didn't look pleased either. Back already? She asked, voice firm but not unfriendly. Just trying to cool down, I said. Could I borrow a phone? I only need to make one call. Her eyes flicked toward a sign taped near the register. Employees only. No public phone use. She sighed. I'm sorry. Corporate rules. We had a theft last year. Please, I said quietly. My kids left me. I need to reach someone. Her expression softened for a moment, then hardened again. I wish I could, truly. But I'd get written up. She meant it. She wasn't heartless, just trapped in a policy cage. That made the rejection sting even more. I thanked her anyway. As I turned to leave, a wave of nausea rolled up my chest so quickly I had to steady myself on a shelf. The manager noticed. You okay? I just need a minute, I said, forcing a breath. She didn't push. She let me lean there until the spinning eased. When I stepped outside again, she called after me. Stay near the building when it gets dark. Coyotes wander close sometimes. That was the closest she came to caring. Drew arrived at the counter a few minutes later to finish stocking shelves. He saw me walking out and jogged to the door. Hey, sir. I stopped. You need anything before I clock out? Food? Water? I got a couple snacks that expired today, but they're still good. I appreciate it, I said. But I already owe you enough. Trust me, you don't. He lowered his voice. I talked to the manager. She said you can sit inside until 8. After that, store policy. That was more generous than I expected. I nodded. Thank you, son. He handed me a dented can of peaches and a protein bar. Take these. Low blood sugar makes the heat worse. When I took them, his eyes flicked to my hands, shaking slightly. Please try to stay hydrated, he added. Night's colder than people think. Then he left. The automatic door shut, and the quiet that followed felt absolute. At 8, the manager asked me to step outside. Her voice held no edge, only tired finality. Stores staying open, she said. But I can't have you sitting inside after hours. Rules. I understand. You need water? Just knock. It was the first time she offered something without an excuse attached. It made her earlier strictness make sense. She wasn't cold, just careful. Still, When the door clicked shut behind me, the evening air felt unnervingly vast. Night in the desert arrives suddenly, as if someone drops a curtain. One moment there's light. The next, the sky is a heavy black dome pricked with stars. Shadows stretched across the parking lot like spilled ink. The temperature fell fast, the kind of cold that slips up your sleeves and under your collar. I moved behind the building where the manager had said there was some shelter from wind. The concrete wall radiated the last warmth of the day, and I sat with my back against it. For a moment, everything was still. Then something rustled in the brush beyond the dumpsters. Not loud, just the movement of something small. A desert hare, maybe, or something worse. The instinctive tightening in my chest surprised me. I wasn't used to fear from small noises. But the desert at night changes everything. Sounds feel closer. The darkness feels alive. I swallowed, the dryness in my throat making it feel like sandpaper. Another rustle. Then a twig snapped. A shiver ran through me that had nothing to do with the cold. As the chill deepened, I rubbed my arms. My fingers felt stiff. When I exhaled, the air came out as a visible puff. My heartbeat was uneven again, tapping hard against my ribs. I pulled out the can of peaches Drew had given me. The metal was cold. My hands shook as I pulled the tab. Not violently, but enough that juice sloshed onto my wrist. When I tasted the syrup, it hit me with an unexpected wave of emotion. Something about the sweetness carried me backward in time. A memory surged up, triggered by the cold breeze sliding across my neck. Marcus was 10 years old, shaking from a nightmare, standing beside my bed whispering, "Dad, can I sleep here tonight? It's too cold." I had lifted him into the blankets and held him until his small body stopped trembling. Now he was the reason I trembled in the dark. The memory hit hard enough to steal my breath. My body felt heavier as the night deepened. I shifted slowly, trying to keep my limbs warm. Another wave of dizziness washed through me, brief but sharp, like the world slid sideways and then snapped back. That's when the darker thought arrived again, clearer this time. If something happens to me out here, will anyone know? The honesty of it hollowed me out. I didn't try to answer it. I didn't have an answer. The desert didn't either. For a few seconds, I let the despair sit on my chest, heavy and real. I wasn't sure if I was afraid of the dark, or afraid of how easily someone can disappear in it. But then a small, instinctive part of me sparked, stubborn and old, but still alive. I pressed my palm against the cold concrete behind me, grounding myself, breathing through the fear. "You've survived worse," I murmured. My voice was shaky, but steady enough to hear. I didn't believe it fully, not yet, but I wanted to believe it. Somewhere in the brush, another twig cracked, but I didn't freeze this time. Fear had already reached its limit. I angled my body closer to the wall, conserving warmth, and pulled my jacket tighter. Above me, the stars glimmered, distant, indifferent. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I would make it to morning, even if the night had teeth. Dawn came in thin, gray strips across the horizon, colder than I expected. The chill had settled deep into my bones during the night, and when I pushed myself upright, my joints protested like rusted hinges. A sharp pulse tightened behind my right eye, a reminder of the heat I'd fought yesterday. I drew a breath. The air felt dry, metallic, almost sharp. My throat rasped as if I'd swallowed sand. Behind the station, the desert had returned to its quiet shape, wide, flat, indifferent. But my body remembered the night. Every muscle felt stiff. My fingers tingled from the cold. When I stood, my vision tilted, a brief, nauseating sway, before steadying. The manager arrived around 6:30. She stepped out of her car with the same brisk efficiency as yesterday. But before she unlocked the door, she paused, looking at me longer than she needed to. "You made it," she said simply. Not soft, not warm, just acknowledging. "I did. I'll open in a minute. You can come in until the morning rush." A pause. "That's the best I can do." It wasn't kindness, not exactly. It was duty softened by decency. That made it feel real. Inside, the heat of the store eased the cold ache from my limbs. I sat on a stool near the coffee station, letting the warmth seep into me. When I reached for the drink Drew gave me last night, my hand cramped unexpectedly, knuckles locking. I massaged the stiffness away. "You should try something with electrolytes," the manager said without looking up from the receipt machine. "Heat knocks the salts out of you." She slid a small sports drink across the counter. "Take it." Her tone said, "Just take it so you don't collapse in my store." not I care about you. That was easier to accept. I drank slowly. The sour chemical sweetness scraped down my throat, but helped settle the dizziness. Drew arrived around 7, still blinking sleep from his eyes. When he spotted me, he exhaled, almost in relief. Morning, sir. Rough night. You could say that. You eat. He pulled a day-old pastry from a bin. This one's safe. Just ugly. I took it. Thank you, son. He nodded and set to restocking shelves, glancing over every few minutes as if checking whether I was still breathing. Around 8, he said, I'll check behind the station before I go home. Sometimes people drop things when they get in and out of cars. It wasn't much, but it felt like someone extending a hand in a dark room. By mid-morning, customers trickled in and out. A tourist in shorts bought jerky. A trucker paid for gas and left without looking at anyone. The world continued its easy rhythm, and I felt painfully separate from it, like I'd fallen out of the life I used to have. After a while, I stepped outside for air. The sun was warming, but not harsh yet. I walked slowly around the side of the station, trying to ease the stiffness in my back. That's when I saw it. Near the curb where Lena had parked yesterday morning, where they had unloaded my things before the drive, I noticed something small wedged under the edge of a cracked parking divider. Fabric. I bent down and tugged gently. It was the cuff of my jacket. Not the one I wore yesterday, but the old denim one I'd brought for cooler evenings. The one Lena insisted on taking from the back seat to reorganize the luggage. My breath tightened. Why would she unload this? I lifted the jacket fully from the dirt. It was dusty, stiff from the cold night, but unmistakably mine. When I shook it, something inside the pocket made a soft, dry flutter. A folded slip of paper. My pulse thudded in my ears. I pulled it out. Sweat stuck, wrinkled, slightly torn. A lottery ticket. Not new, looking like the last draft. Not planted. Not conveniently discarded by a stranger. It was mine. In my jacket. The jacket they handled. The jacket they forgot to take back. My hand shook as I unfolded it. The numbers were marked in Lena's handwriting. I recognized the loop in the 7, the way she always crossed her 4s. A small note scribbled in the margin. Dad's pics. A breath caught in my throat. Sharp, painful. We used to fill out numbers together on Sunday mornings. It was one of the few rituals we kept after Marla left. Lena always teased me about my lucky system. The memory hit suddenly, triggered by the jacket's familiar weight. Of her at 9 years old, sitting on the kitchen floor, picking numbers with me and insisting the number 12 was magic because Dad was born in December. My heart twisted. And now this. Left behind like I was. No, left behind because they were careless. Too focused on abandoning me to realize what they'd tossed aside. Inside the store, I held the ticket out to Drew. Can you check this? He took it cautiously, like it might crumble. Let me try. His phone flickered. 1 bar, then none. The signal here was terrible. We'll have to use the scanner, he said. The gas station's lottery scanner was an old machine near the counter, one of those clunky devices people use for scratch-offs. Drew fed the ticket into the slot. The machine hummed, paused, glitched. He frowned. Let me try again. Second attempt. A low beep, then a longer one. The screen flashed. Please see lottery vendor. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? I asked. Usually, it means it's either expired or, his voice trailed off. Or what? Or really big. He swallowed and scanned it a third time. The machine beeped louder, a different tone, then printed a tiny slip of paper. Drew read it. His eyebrows shot upward. Oh my God. The words fell out of him, soft but stunned. He looked at me, really looked at me. Mr. Rubin, this is a winning ticket. A cold ripple went through me, sharper than the night air. How much? He didn't answer at first. He checked the numbers manually on his phone now that he was inside. 1 by 1. Slow. Deliberate. His breath caught. All 6 numbers, he whispered. Sir, it's the jackpot. For a moment, the world went strangely silent, as if sound itself stepped back to make room for the truth. I felt weightless and heavy at the same time. A rush of heat filled my chest. Not joy. Not yet. Something closer to shock, disbelief, even fear. I gripped the counter to steady myself. They left this, I murmured. In my jacket. They didn't even know. Drew nodded slowly. Reuben, this is life-changing. I couldn't speak. My throat closed. Life-changing. After they tried to discard mine. I turned the ticket over. My fingers trembled violently. The irony hit me like a blow. The same children who abandoned me in the desert accidentally left me a way out. A future, a weapon, a rebirth. Tears blurred my vision, not from happiness, but from the sheer force of the moment. I wasn't helpless anymore. I wasn't disposable. The world had shifted, and none of them knew. Yet, the ticket stayed tucked against my chest, warm from my body heat, yet somehow still feeling foreign. Every time my hand brushed it through the shirt fabric, a small, electric panic jolted through me, as if it might vanish if I didn't keep checking. The manager didn't treat me any differently. She wasn't suddenly soft or motherly. She simply did her job, unlocking the cooler, resetting the lotto scanner, wiping down the counters. But I noticed one thing. Every so often she glanced toward me, subtle and quick, like someone quietly hoping their liability doesn't collapse in aisle 3. Good. Realistic. Not too warm. Not too cold. She let me sit inside until the morning rush. Nothing more, nothing less. Drew came in an hour later, rubbing sleep from his eyes and yawning hard enough to crack his jaw. "Morning," he said, already reaching for the pastry bin. His eyes moved to my hands gripping the table edge. "You okay? You're pale." "I'll live," I said. "Just tired." He nodded, then quietly slid a fresh roll across the counter. "Don't tell my manager," he whispered. A real flaw, small but grounding. His kindness wasn't polished or heroic. It was clumsy. Human. Exactly what I needed. When the store got busier around 10, I stepped outside. The sunlight wasn't punishing yet, but the brightness still made my eyes water. I walked toward the curb where I'd found my jacket earlier and sat on a concrete block near the ice machine. My body reminded me that I hadn't slept properly in 2 days. My legs twitched with leftover cold. My head throbbed from dehydration and stress. And my heart beat with the heavy caution of a man bracing for something too big. I took a slow breath and let the warmth settle into my old bones. Everything was changing. Too fast. Not fast enough. Both at once. Inside, the radio played softly, static, then a voice. State officials confirmed the winning ticket for last night's jackpot was purchased somewhere in Verde County. The manager turned it down before the rest played. Not too on the nose this time. Just enough to tighten the air in my chest. Drew shot me a look from behind the counter, not knowing for sure, but suspecting. A little after 11:30, he checked his phone during a break and frowned. Oh, weird. Someone posted a picture from last night. He turned the screen so I could see. A grainy photo of the gas station, taken at night, the storefront glowing under the fluorescent lights. In the far left corner of the image, barely noticeable, was a dark shape sitting on the ground. Me. Not clearly. Not intentionally. Just there. "It's in a local group," Drew said. "People share spooky shots or weird stuff." Someone captioned it. "Old man stranded at Red Mesa? Anyone know him?" My stomach tightened. No mention of the lottery. No rumor linking me to money. No coworker messaging me. Just a blurry picture and strangers speculating. That I believed. "Try not to worry," Drew said. "Stuff like this pops up and disappears in an hour." But worry was the only thing my body seemed capable of anymore. By early afternoon, the heat crept back. Not as brutal as the day before, but enough to make my head swim if I stood too quickly. Around 2 p.m., I nearly lost balance walking back inside. Drew caught my elbow, not smoothly, almost dropping the cup he was holding. Sorry, he muttered. "My bad. I wasn't watching." "No," I said. "That was me. Dizzy." He inhaled. "I get off in an hour," he said quietly. "My car, she overheats sometimes, but she'll make it. If you still want to go to Mesa Junction." There was hesitation. Uncertainty. He wasn't a savior, just a kid with a questionable car, trying to help someone. "Yes," I said. "I need to go." He nodded, then added, "We'll have to stop halfway to let the engine cool." A flaw. A limit. Realism. Good. At 3, he clocked out. The manager didn't interfere. She looked at both of us, expression neutral, and simply said, "Drive safe." Not emotional. Not warm. Just factual. Outside, Drew's old sedan rattled as he unlocked it. Paint fading. A dented bumper. The AC barely working. "Perfect." "Sorry," he said. "She's ugly." "She's a car," I said. "That's enough." As I lowered myself inside, my body protested. Stiffness, dizziness, a wave of nausea that nearly made me sit back up. I gripped the doorframe until it passed. "You good?" Drew asked. "Just tired." He nodded and started the engine. It sputtered before catching. We pulled onto the highway. The desert blurred by, pale sand, brittle brush, sun-baked fence posts. Not scenic, not comforting, just empty. The farther we drove, the more my thoughts spiraled. What if the ticket's invalid? What if someone else claims it first? What if the office turns me away without ID? What if my kids find out? The last one chilled me the most. Drew broke the silence gently. Do you remember the numbers clearly? I mean, you sure it's yours? I recognize Lena's handwriting, I said. And my pics. She used to fill them out for me. He nodded slowly. Okay, that's something. A responsible reaction, cautious, not celebratory. His car rattled louder as the temperature gauge crept higher. We'll stop soon, he said. Engines climbing. We pulled into a turnout 10 minutes later, steam faintly lifting from under the hood when he cracked it open. Sorry, he said again. She overheats real easy. It's fine. He laughed nervously. You're taking all this a lot calmer than I would. I shook my head. Calm isn't the word. I'm terrified. That was the truth. When we finally reached Mesa Junction, my entire body felt tight and shaky from the long ride. Stepping out of the car took effort, my knees wobbling under me. Drew walked beside me, but didn't hover. The lottery claims office looked ordinary, tin stucco, glass doors, a blue state seal beside the entrance. But to me, it might as well have been a courthouse. They're gonna want ID, I murmured suddenly, fear slicing through the haze. I don't have one. They took my wallet. Drew hesitated. Sometimes they'll verify identity with paperwork later. I think. I'm not totally sure. The uncertainty made my heart stutter. Do I even have proof this is mine? I whispered. He opened his mouth. Closed it. No one else has it, he said finally. That's all you've got right now. I nodded. A tight, shaky motion. We walked in silence toward the entrance. 10 feet away. 5. 2. My hand lifted toward the door handle, then froze. My fingers hovered there, suspended in the space before everything changed. Fear, hope, shame, anger, confusion. A lifetime's worth of emotion compressed into one trembling hand. I was about to step into a future my children never imagined. A future they tried, intentionally, to prevent me from reaching. And for the first time, I felt something new rising underneath all the fear. Not power, not triumph, not revenge. Resolve. Quiet. Stubborn. Steady. I drew a slow breath. Then, with my hand still hovering inches from the door, I whispered to myself. Don't you turn back now. The glass reflected my face. Tired, older than yesterday, but not broken. Not anymore. I tightened my fingers and reached for the door. The lottery office felt colder than it looked. Sterile walls, humming lights, the soft tap of keys behind the front desk. Carla, the clerk, took the ticket from my trembling hand with the calm efficiency of someone who'd seen every kind of desperation. I'll scan it, she said. When she fed the ticket into the machine, I held my breath without meaning to. The machine hummed. Then a long tone filled the air. Carla leaned close to the screen. Her expression shifted, barely, but enough. Sir, this is the winning ticket. My chest tightened. The floor felt unsteady. Drew murmured, "Oh my God," behind me, but his voice sounded miles away. Carla continued, gentle but firm. We need to verify your identity. I don't have ID, I whispered. My children took my wallet. Everything. She paused, studying me, not doubtful, but cautious. That complicates things, she said. But it doesn't void your claim. We'll start manual verification. It will take time. How long? Days. Possibly more. But the ticket is locked to you now. I let out a shaky breath. Not relief. Something closer to survival breaking through shock. Come back tomorrow, she said. We'll have the next steps. It wasn't a finish line. It wasn't safety. But for the first time since yesterday, the path ahead existed. Drew drove me to a small motel near the edge of town. His rattling sedan groaned climbing the hill, steam escaping when he shut it off. Sorry, he said. She overheats if I drive too far. Thank you for getting me here, I replied. Inside the room, the air conditioner sputtered weakly. The carpet smelled like old cleaner. I sat on the bed, feeling everything sink into my bones. Exhaustion, fear, the sudden quiet after too much noise. Drew stood in the doorway. I can pick you up tomorrow if you need. You've done enough, I said softly. He hesitated, then nodded and left. The silence pressed in. A heavy, empty quiet. I lay back, staring at the ceiling's faint water stain. My whole body felt tired in a way that wasn't just physical. My mind replayed everything. The desert, the note, the ticket, the office, until thoughts tangled into each other. At some point, I fell asleep. When I woke, it was early evening. The room looked darker, the lights slanting through the curtains dusty and thin. My throat felt tight, my muscles stiff when I sat up. I reached for the motel phone, the one they kept at the front desk for guests with no cell. A blinking notification showed a missed call with a brief voicemail. "Mr. Morton? This is Carla from earlier. I just wanted to let you know, news outlets are reporting speculation about the winner. They're using a photo from Red Mesa Station. You may want to be aware." Her tone wasn't emotional. It was informational, a professional courtesy, but it sent a cold wave through me. I opened the browser and searched. It didn't take long. A local news page had posted, "Community speculates over viral photo of man stranded at Red Mesa. Could he be the jackpot winner?" Below, the blurry image appeared, the one Drew had shown me earlier. My outline barely visible. Not clear, but recognizable to someone who knew me. My heart pounded as I scrolled through the comments. "Poor guy. Hope he gets help. Stranded? That's awful." Then newer ones. "Looks like the same area the ticket was sold. Could this be him?" And then, my stomach dropped. "Does anyone know this man?" Posted by Lena Morton. The timestamp, 17 minutes ago. 2 comments below it. Jonah Morton. "If you've seen him, please message me. Urgent. 10 minutes ago." And farther down, Marcus Morton. "People need to stop jumping to conclusions. Just now. Not coordinated. Not unified. Not composed. They were unraveling in real time." Lena panicked. Jonah desperate. Marcus defensive. A tremor ran through me. Not strength, not triumph. Something quieter. A hollow ache rising beneath my ribs. Because for the first time, it hit me. They weren't looking for me yesterday. But today, when the world was watching, they were terrified to lose sight of me. I stared at their names on the screen until they blurred. Their voices filled the silence of the motel room, even though none of them were speaking to me. And yet the question cut the deepest. Why now? Why only now? Because they thought I might be dead yesterday, and that was fine. But now I might be rich, and that was not. My vision stung. My chest felt tight again. The air in the room felt thinner. I set the phone down slowly. Quiet panic settled in my bones. Cold, steady, suffocating. They knew. They were searching. And for the first time, I wasn't afraid they'd find me. I was afraid of what they wanted when they did. I didn't sleep long. Maybe 2 hours at most. The motel room felt small when I woke. Air thick, walls too close, my own heartbeat louder than the rattling AC. The events of the last 24 hours pressed against my chest like an invisible weight. I glanced at the borrowed phone. Notifications blinked. Not dozens, hundreds. I steadied myself, rubbing my temples before opening anything. My head still ached from dehydration, sleep deprivation, and whatever this new life was shaping itself into. I scrolled carefully. The news article had grown overnight. Now it wasn't just local. A regional outlet had posted. Community reacts to viral photo of stranded older man. Potential jackpot winner. Nothing confirmed. Nothing specific. Just speculation. Still enough to light a match. The comments below it were a fire spreading in slow motion. Some sympathetic. Some cruel. Some curious. And among them, names I knew, appearing one by one, not all together this time. Her comment came first, time-stamped nearly an hour ago. "If anyone knows him, please tell him we want to talk. Please." The please repeated twice. Her tone shaky, typed fast, sent without thinking. Then a second message from her, posted 15 minutes after the first. "Dad, if you see this, I'm sorry. We didn't handle things right. Please just let us know you're safe." I could almost hear her voice, soft, rushed, cracking like she was trying not to cry. His message appeared 30 minutes later. "Dad, I messed up. I know I did. We're coming to find you. I just need to know you're okay." Not panicked. Not dramatic. Heavy. Weighted with shame. Then a second, shorter one. "Please." A single-word message carries a different kind of grief. His comment didn't show up until recently. 5 minutes ago, in fact. This is not what it looks like. People need to stop spreading rumors. Defensive. Cold. Then another, seconds later. "Dad, call me. Immediately." Even typed through a keyboard, he managed to sound commanding. That was Marcus, the eldest, The one who always thought he was fixing things while often making them worse. A knot tightened in my stomach. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Just a deep, painful ache. They weren't reaching out as a unified front. They weren't strategizing together. They were cracking, each in their own, separate way. And beneath all of it, the panic wasn't because they missed me. Something had triggered the collapse. A new notification blinked. Message from Aaron H. I froze for a second, then remembered. Aaron worked with Marcus. I'd met him once years ago. His first line said everything. Marcus, I saw the article. People are saying you three abandoned him. Is that true? Oh, so that's how the panic started. Co-workers, friends, people who recognized my face from the blurry photo. Public pressure, social consequences, not conscience. That hurt more than I expected. A voicemail icon blinked. I pressed play. Carla's voice came through, calm and distant. Mr. Morton, your verification is set for 11 a.m. tomorrow. Just a reminder to bring any supplemental documents if you find any. That's all. Professional. Predictable. Grounded. She didn't overstep, which I appreciated. Another vibration, this time a text from Drew. You okay? My car made it home. Barely. I can still help tomorrow, if that's what you want. One flaw, honest and human. His hesitation came through. He wasn't a savior. He was just trying. I typed back slowly. Thank you. Tomorrow is fine. Then I set the phone down. But the screen lit up again. A voice message this time. Lena. My chest tightened. I pressed play. Her voice cracked halfway through her first word. Dad? Dad? Please, we're driving to Mesa Junction. We had no idea people would misunderstand what happened. We didn't want. You have to believe me. We didn't mean to leave things like that. I closed my eyes. Not, we didn't mean to leave you. We didn't mean to leave things like that. A difference in wording, but a devastating one. They regretted the situation, not the act. Another message followed, Jonah this time. Softer. Lower. Like he recorded it while hiding from the others. Dad, I'm sorry. I swear to God, I didn't want to go along with it. But Marcus said. He said you'd be fine, and I thought we could talk later, after things calmed down. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. A tear slid from the corner of my eye before I could stop it. Not because of him, but because I remembered Jonah at 8 years old, clinging to my shirt at school drop-off, terrified of being left behind. And now this. People don't grow out of their wounds. They grow around them. Marcus's message came last. Predictably. Dad, call me. We need to clear this up before things escalate. You're not helping by staying silent. That one hurt in a different way, a familiar way. I felt my fingers tremble, from exhaustion, not fear. I stood, legs unsteady, and sat again on the small round table in the room, breathing through the heaviness. It took a full minute before I picked up the phone. A full minute before I pressed the call button. The line rang once. Twice. Lena answered. A sharp inhale. Dad. Her voice broke immediately. I swallowed, throat painfully tight. I'm here, I said softly. A small, shaky sob escaped her. Dad? Oh my God, where are you? We're so sorry. Her words tangled over themselves. Jonah's voice came faintly in the background. Dad, please. Marcus's voice cut through sharply. Dad, enough. Tell us where you are. Stop, I said. My own voice surprised me. Not loud, not strong, but edged with something new, something that almost hurt to hear. They all fell silent. I felt my breath tremble before I continued. You left me, I said quietly. In the heat. With nothing. Not even enough water. Lena cried harder. Jonah whispered, I know. I know. Marcus forced himself into the silence. We had a plan. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said. My voice cracked on understand. Just enough to feel real. A long, aching pause followed. I let it stretch. You didn't check if I was alive, I continued. You checked if I was gone. That sentence landed like a blow. I could hear the hit over the phone. A choked sound from Jonah. A broken gasp from Lena. A sharp exhale from Marcus. Dad, Jonah whispered. Please let us fix this. Please. I'm safe, I said. That's all you need to know. Lena sucked in a breath, hopeful. Then let us. No. The word was soft, but final. You'll hear from me, I said. When I'm ready. Not before. Their silence was immediate and absolute. Then, quietly, I hung up. My hand fell to my lap, heavy. My chest tightened, not with triumph. With grief. The kind that comes after finally telling the truth. I leaned back in the chair, breathing unevenly, letting the ache move through me instead of fighting it. And somewhere beneath the exhaustion, beneath the sorrow, beneath the fragments of who I'd been only days ago, something steady took shape. A small flame. Quiet, but unmistakable. Tomorrow would change everything. But tonight, I finally reclaimed something they'd taken long before the desert. My voice. My choice. Myself.